May I call for the vote? Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Absolutely, of course, yes.
Excuse me, Lehigh and Northampton Transportation Authority seeking approval to enter into a revenue support agreement with Lanta to implement a Mock Chunk Lake Park Beach bus route that will serve the communities of Jim Thorpe, Lansford, Summit Hill, and Nesquehoning on 15 consecutive Saturdays commencing Memorial Day weekend, May 27th, 2023, and concluding with Labor Day weekend, September 2, 2023. Cost of the service prior to fare collections and other potential revenue generating offsets is $4,464.90.
Move to approve.
And I will second that, and we will have a discussion. I guess we can have a presentation.
AJ, yeah, AJ Jordan from Atlanta will come on up.
It's on, can you hear me? Well, thank you for having me here today to discuss the City Bus Mock Chunk Lake beach bus. It's a very short, easy presentation. Happy to answer any questions, but essentially this was a concept first brought to Lanta's attention by Commissioner Lukasevich, recognizing a need for better access to the lake for the youth of Carbon County from the boroughs across the county. So he approached me at Lanta, and for the record, sorry, my name is AJ Jordan, I'm the manager of planning and scheduling for Lanta. He approached us to discuss feasibility. So we looked into various alignments, routes, and found some options to present to the county. If we want to move to the next slide. What we determined was a kind of circuitous looking route, but Carbon Transit's garage is in Nesquehoning, and in order to serve all of the centers, we determined the most cost-effective route was to serve Lansford, Summit Hill, accessing Mock Chunk Lake Beach Park, and then continuing on to Jim Thorpe, avoiding the historic district, going through the hill in East Jim Thorpe, returning to the lake for 3 trips each day. We can come back to the slide if you'd like, but if we go to the schedule on the next slide. What we're proposing are 6 trips, so 3 times a day, going to the lake, Jim Thorpe, back to the lake, back to Nesquehoning, to provide access for park open, midday afternoon trips, and park closed trips. These would be on our fixed route buses, so different from the CT van service that you might see more ubiquitously across the county. Fixed route service is open to the general public. Everyone can ride, but also the youth of the county that may want to frequent the park or work as a lifeguard. So we're really excited to propose this service. As mentioned, it would be a revenue support agreement where the county agrees to cover the total potential cost, but any revenue received through bus fares or other services provided throughout the summer would come off that total cost. So the number presented today would be maximum cost, but we do have a great potential for revenue recovery.
I'll make a couple comments, kind of expanding a little bit upon the purpose of this. First and foremost, it is to introduce the youth of Carbon County and these specific communities to Mock Chunk Lake Park, to start nurturing a bond between the youth and the park, in the aspiration of someday that psychological bond turns into lifeguards, seasonal maintenance workers, seasonal rangers. And we have to start developing that now, because we are and we continue to be in a dire situation with lifeguards and seasonal employees, but specifically in the youth range. This does promote a low cost, high quality family experience opportunity that are few and far between in Carbon County. There's a $4 round trip, right? We only charge $2 for children and $3 for adults to enter Mock Chunk Lake Park. So for a full day of family fun and activity, I think it's very economical. Our annual passes are $20 for an individual, 40 for a family. I think also, these 4 communities, neither of them have a municipal pool other than like Weatherly, Lehighton, Palmerton, who do have access to a safe outdoor recreational swimming opportunity. And also in regards to Jim Thorpe and Summit Hill, they are host communities to Mock Chunk Lake Park. I do think this helps eliminate transportation as a potential obstacle to family activities here in Carbon County. And I know AJ referred to the revenue offset, and I see it as 4 different ways that we expect to make an honest attempt to make this revenue neutral. I don't think a particular service of this nature needs to be, but that's what we always want to strive for, at least revenue neutral. We did purposely, and as I was looking at proposing and advocating for a slight increase for non-county resident families, we increased that $25. Fares are going to help offset it. We also expect an increase of visitors to Mock Chunk Lake Park, who of course pay an admission fee. And also, we do have a future proposal for leveraging Lanta services for fall foliage, giving shuttle and parking out of Mock Chunk Lake Park. So extremely high probability of a revenue neutral, if not actually a revenue generating experience. No program is going to be successful over simply one summer, right? You got to start advertising, getting the word out, and importantly, the word of mouth. So this is really, I believe, just the start of something that could be extremely successful. And I have to thank Lana, AJ, for the conversations we had, Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau, and Carbon Chamber, because all of them, including Dave out at Mock Chunk Lake Park, has been an integral part of this discussions over quite a few months to kind of bring this to a decision point for the county. And that's all I have.
The only discussion I have about it, there's good intentions here. But I think there has to be more thought in this. One of my sticking points is, it's great to get people there. And like Chris said, we have issues at the park. I think we have one lifeguard. I think there's a lot of issues, and money wise, I'm not afraid to invest to help people out, but go back to it says families and youth. And I have an issue with the younger kids getting on the bus. They get on at one location. Is your driver going to monitor? Say if a kid goes, you know what, my friend, I'm meeting him at Boyers. I got to get off here, but he can't get on to 115. Who's going to watch that 12-year-old kid? I'm just worried about the liability that comes back to us. When we put a child on a school bus, they got put on the school bus, they got dropped off, a paraprofessional takes care of them, they go through the school. What's going to stop these kids from dropping off any place else if they get on the bus and they say, okay, you get on here, you're going to the Mock Chunk Lake, and you signed on that you're there? How do we ensure the parents that these kids are going to get to where they are? That's my sticking point. And it's advertised as families and youth, but we could get 20, well, or what is the limit, 12 or 13?
15 for seating. You
15. Yeah, you could have more standing, but potentially you could get younger ones on the bus, correct? That would be unattended. Exactly.
Not younger than 12. We also currently have at Mock Chunk Lake Park, children as young as 10 years old can currently, with the current policy, be in Mock Chunk Lake Park without an adult supervision currently. Now that is being changed to up to 12, right? To coincide with the change to Lanta's acceptance of youth. Now look, days have changed, but as a youth, from 6, 7 years old, I was all over Jim Thorpe on the bus. Never had a problem or an issue. I don't see an issue today with 12-year-olds getting on a bus and going to Mock Chunk Lake Park. Just don't see it. Again, we can continue to shelter our children and be overprotective. And you know the type of adults we're going to have, right? Ones who need protection when they're 24, 25 years old. Children need to be mentored, guided, and they need to have an opportunity to grow and develop. And I know riding the Jim Thorpe bus during my youth made me a better person, made me mature. And when I missed the 10:15 bus over at the high school, I was walking back from east side of town, back over to this side of town to get home. And I'm a better person for those times. I made those mistakes and I had those failures.
And like I said, times have changed. I mean, I have a nephew that's, looks like he's in seventh grade and he's only in third grade. Like, who's gonna screen these people? Are we gonna have real ID for them? And that's the thing that bothers me. I'm not going there, getting there, but it's like, these kids are gonna be unattended. Are we gonna have it that it's just gonna be a bus ride for kids? And then somebody that really does go to the park, if it's gonna be a hang up? I don't know. And to not start something, it would be wrong. Also, and I see his point that we want to get people there, but I need insurance that these kids. That, how are you gonna do it? If, like I said, if my nephew shows up and he's 9 years old, you're gonna let him on the bus. How are you gonna determine that? Because I don't think your bus drivers are certified in anything of education or whatever with the kids. And are they gonna say, okay, this kid's getting off of the bus at, say, if he's on Nescahoning and goes to Boyer? Are you gonna be able to stop that kid from getting off? Because the intent of this is go to park. It's not to go to Boyer, it's not to go to Summit Hill. This was something here. And I'm just going back to our agreement with Landa. When we change things over, I see things that have changed with Landa that we did before that people come in and complain to me about. There's issues where they've been going, I mean, they go through different towns. And what we turned over to Landa is not what I was expecting. And I want this to be what we're getting and make sure the kids are safe. And that's the thing about it. If you want to put it this way, you know where I'm going with this. It's not going to pass today because it's you and I voting on it. If you want to table it and there's a discussion and you can say to me, these kids will be protected. There is some kind of safety measure that they have to do it. I mean, when you get on there, is there something that the parents have to sign off on that they're responsible for? The kid just can't show up at 8 years old and think that he's not 12, or thinking he's 12. So what is the insurance that is gonna prove to me that that kid can ride on that bus?
AJ, answering problem, ID required.
Well, sure. I'd just like to address all of these concerns. To answer the questions, I'd like to separate that there are two different types of service operating in Carbon County right now. There's CT van and CT bus. CT bus is a fixed route service that has different drivers than our CT van service. And I hear the concerns with the CT van service, but our fixed route drivers are trained to operate regular schedules daily. And they're very attentive drivers. That we have regular riders that in all of these communities on our weekday service that would be operating this on Saturdays as well. There is nothing preventing a rider from getting off at the Boyers. It is a public transit route. That is their right, to not ride all
And
the way
this
to
was
the lake.
told to me
but-
as going to the beach.
but
Right
that-
there it says, beach, bus,
Right.
route.
But it
It
is
does not say stop at any location in Carbon County. Right there, it's on the top, then change the name of it. It says beach, bus, route.
It's a route that goes to the beach, but as we were briefed previously, we can't limit the use of it. It is public transportation and we're bound by that agreement to provide.
Correct. And that also provides some additional revenue opportunities for any, seniors in Landsberg Tower to go to Boyers as well, provide some revenue. But these drivers are very attentive. If there are any issues, they will know these riders regularly. For under age 12, drivers are allowed to ask for age verification before boarding the bus. So if there's any question, drivers can absolutely verify that. There's also nothing preventing any parents from riding along the bus or any other adults to ride along.
Well, that's what
in
I'm
addition to
getting
the
at. If
operator.
you're a kid, and you just can't send your kid out there, and I know, like Chris said, he didn't have no problems. That was 50 years ago. Today is today. There was just a report in the paper that somebody was walking around with a dog trying to pick kids up in Franklin Township. We're advertising that we're putting young kids on the bus, and we promote that we're a vacation towns and vacation county, don't you think everybody from outside world sees that? I think we're looking at something that, I mean, hopefully nothing would happen, but I'm just looking at, we gotta protect these kids, and I don't know what our liability, even like with the solicitor. I'm just not comfortable with this, that there is no verification with this, is there something when the parents call up, okay, Johnny's gonna be there and Johnny's going to the stop? And like I said, if you wanna have it, don't put it beach bus route. Because beach bus route, it looks like me, they're going, when you're picked up and they're gonna drop you off at the beach, that's it. And I said, I go back to it again, I have notes all the time, when we change things over to land. I'm not happy with some of the things, we had people going out of town that we resolved, there's other things, and there's routes that Landa has changed. That was being done when the county had it themselves, and it was changed. And that's a fact, and people come to me all the time, and it was changed, when we turned it over, I don't want something like this. That, and this is what's gonna happen, it's gonna be turned over to you, to Lanta to do this, and it might not be what we want. I wanna see more of what's happening there, and like I said, I just don't like these kids getting on the bus whenever they want and getting off whenever they want, and you can't tell me that they're qualified because they could be qualified, but like I said, if I'm a kid and I get up there and I said, you know what, my mom said I can get off of this. What is that, is that person gonna have the mother's phone number to call and say, you know what, Johnny wants to get off the bus and he's going to 221 Hazard Street? Is that what they're gonna look into? We don't know where these kids are going. If you're doing that beach bus route, then tell me that they're going on the bus and they're going all the way through and getting dropped off, and I don't think you can do that.
AJ, what's the current age? The minimum age at this time for a person to get on Carbon Transit in Carbon County to go anywhere that the routes run?
The current
The current, right now, today,
5 and under, or 5 and over.
5 and over.
Not by themselves.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
can get on.
5 years
Better
old.
look into that.
It's the current policy.
Are you
Well,
really
that's why
kidding?
we changed
That
the
is
policy.
the current policy.
Yeah, I think you ought to, I tell you what, you ought to change your policy of 5 and older as anything.
So what? To what age?
Well, I don't know.
So we're saying it's not 12, so where is it? 18?
Okay,
Age of
you know
majority?
what, I'm done discussing this, I know where the vote is, I don't need more
Well,
discussion.
I'm not.
I can call for the, I
No,
can
you
call for
can't.
the vote.
No,
If
there
we
has
have
to, no, Robert Rules of Order says there must be a majority that calls for cessation of discussion. A chair or acting chair cannot conclude or prevent discussion, cannot stop it. Robert's rule.
You can call for an hour, you're not gonna change
I-
my mind.
that-
because
that's
I'm here to
fine.
protect
We're-
kids at Carbon County.
Well, no, you're not. What you're doing is you're taking away opportunities from families and children in low-income neighborhoods in Nesquehoning, Lansford, and Summit Hill, who don't have the transportation, who don't have the resources, and are now being given 1 day a week where they as a family can come together in a quality outdoor recreational
And you keep saying
opportunity
family.
that others
Like
don't
the
have.
family come and the parents with. I don't know
Well,
how they're-
they may, but if I'm a 13-year-old and I want to go with my middle school friends or buddies to Montchunk Lake Park and I'm in Nesquehoning, Lansford, Summit Hill, or in Jim Thorpe, son of a gun, I want the opportunity to do it. And this is the vehicle to make it happen.
I would just add, I appreciate the concerns very much. We have been running this service for a long time, the fixed route service, it used to be called Lynx. And that policy was in existence prior, the 5 and over policy. We agree that it should definitely be more than 5, but we've never had an issue. On our fixed route service, we have regular operators that are intimately familiar with the area and are able to communicate, monitor, and provide any authorities. We've also discussed if there are any issues with anybody being stranded. We also have protection buses that are always on standby and an operations staff that are monitoring. So I would argue this is the safest way to transport people to the lake. I definitely hear the concerns though.
So if this is a priority, when are you gonna change like the riding, who can get on, what age?
Oh, well, I
If
mean,
it's a priority, you should did it already.
well, We had the discussion this week.
Yeah, we always have discussion.
No. I mean, I believe we were posting it to the website yesterday, because in this discussion we had with you, I believe it was last week, we talked about this and recognized that age limit was too low, and we changed it, immediately. We looked into our rules, we were allowed to change it. And so when I asked confirmation of today, I think today it's now officially 12.
Right. And Mock Chunk Lake Park is under, they're moving towards raising it to 12 years old to coincide the two policies. Actually, the Parks and Rec Commission discussed it on Friday, EJ. All right, that's all I have.
May I call for the vote? Mr. Honor?
No.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Absolutely, of course, yes.
And then let's go back to the beach club. So I guess this would be for AJ. Is he still here? Okay. How many children currently ride the routes in Carbon County?
Current ridership trends are 0 children. Currently, we have approximately 64% are senior riders, and the remaining are adults. That is on our current fixed route service that is operating weekdays only, between Palmerton and Nescohoning.
Thank you. Now, on the bus stops, I saw at Jim Thorpe High School, it had Lansford Borders, but where in Nescohoning and Summit Hill, if that would come to fruition, because I know you guys voted 1-1, so it's kind of at a moot point at the moment. Where would that go? Where were those 2 other stops in Nescohoning, if that came?
So, Carbon Transit, the CD bus operates flag stops, so there are designated stops, but then you could also board at any safe intersection. So any not along the highway segments, but in Summit Hill and Lansford and Nescohoning, pretty much anywhere from Carbon Depot, which is near the middle school in Nescohoning, west through the Senior Tower, Panther Valley Mall, Boyers, and then up the hill in Summit Hill. There wouldn't be any boarding at the intersections on the highway segments.
Thank you. And then, how many people, if this come about, would this actually hold? I know it's 120 max on that, but the bus obviously isn't going to hold 120 at one time.
Sure. Yeah, so that number was 15 per trip per direction. So if everyone rode both directions, 120 max for seats on the bus. And as was mentioned, we have protection buses. So if we ended up being over capacity, we could easily add a bus and increase that number. But I found that to be unlikely, in particular this year.
Thank you. And then commissioners, following up on that, now that it's 1-1, will this come up then again at next week's agenda? You're looking at
I
probably?
really wouldn't have no problem with it. And like I said, I think he explained things, and we had a meeting with him. And even like he's talking that if there's an app or, there's coverage that if somebody would be left somewhere or there wouldn't be enough at the park, they could come back and get something. And it's just my sticking point is like, I just don't like younger kids. I think there should be a different age set, or either when they're at that, parents should have to go with them. This is a big thing, and I think you heard him. He says that right now we have currently no kids riding. It's a big thing from going from no to 10 to the possibility of 10. Yes, I'd like to have them there, but I want to make sure that they're going to get there safely too. I mean, there's, like I said, are there safeguards, when they sign up? Are there, things that they could actually call the parent? I don't know, you know what I mean? Because you see the way the world is. And I don't think we need an accident to happen in Carbon County.
Yeah, this will absolutely come back up when Commissioner Notstein is back here. Make no mistake, we have a philosophical difference here, right? I want to raise real men and real women who can confront challenges of the 21st century. And by babying kids, we don't get where we need to be. We have enough challenges in our society because of helicopter parenting, the disintegration of the family unit. This is an opportunity beyond what was explained in the direct purposes to have collateral positive gain, right? Starting to develop, give our youth an opportunity to have a little bit of independence, right? There's no indication. I have seen no data that shows in any way this would be unsafe. Absolutely none at all. Can you always put in more safeguards? Absolutely you can. The fact of an ID card for children who are 12. Again, what's it gonna be? The safe age is at 14, 16, 18, right? Again, and what's that gonna be based on? Well, I feel comfortable a 16-year-old. Late part. So I'm extremely disappointed. And make no mistake, every decision that is made at this table becomes an issue. It becomes an issue in May, it becomes an issue in November. And I'll use everything I can, every tool I have, to make sure the individuals who are seating at this table are looking at the best interest of every citizen in Carbon County, to include the 4 communities that are mentioned in this.
And if that's the campaign against me to.
Well, trust me, Rob, you
And if I'm not looking out for the youth of Carbon County, you might wind up not getting any votes yourself, because that's what my job
right
is.
now, I'm not a candidate, so I'm not worried about it, you know?
And I'm not either.
Well,
Because I think the people are gonna make the right choice. I
When you
hope
make
they do.
decisions.
And this is not the political venue here. What we're
Doesn't
going
matter.
back to is, and just going back to Landa, my issue is, and I think Chris hit on it 100% again. And we didn't follow through on like these things. Should kids have ID? Like I said, we want our kids to grow up and not be afraid. But is that kid that 8 years old gonna be responsible enough that looks like a 13 or 14-year-old? What's gonna happen to that kid on the bus? That's where I'm saying we have that protection. That's a good idea. Then if there's something like the kids all have ID. Free, you have to get the kids an identity, an ID card that they can get on. They go to school now, they have an ID card. What's wrong with having an ID card for this? And I said that there would settle me right there. If they were gonna break it off at that age, I'm just saying about the kids that are 8 years old that look like 12, that aren't mature enough to get on that bus. Do they even know to get back on the bus at 4:30? That's all it is. And then we're gonna wind up having buses run at night, and the parents are gonna wonder where they're at, because they were supposed to be dropped off at Boyers, and they're not there when they came to pick them up.
If that's your position, why didn't you simply make a modification, move to modify the motion to include?
Because I don't know what they're gonna say, and that's what happens. We come to this table and we're presented with stuff. He didn't even know that the age was moved up. Okay, so everything, didn't you say that the age was 5 years old and he's modified? And then when I asked you, you weren't sure, but now you think 12.
No. We changed the policy this week. I wasn't sure if it's been posted to the website. We changed the
Exactly.
policy after the
Exactly.
discussion.
We always come to these meetings after the fact. I need this proof right before the meeting, not when it comes in here when you do a presentation. I don't do that to anybody. When I present things, I show it up front, and if you don't like it, then we table and discuss it next week. There's a major issue here for me. And that's what it is. It's that kid that gets on the bus, that kid actually 12 years old. And right there, if you come up with some kind of system that they could get ID cards, I'm all for it, because I think it's good to get the kids there. I have no problem with that. I just need them kids that are under 12 protected. And if that's what it is, that you think that 12-year-olds can run wherever they want, and if that's the way the world thinks it is, but I'm looking at the ones that aren't 12 that are gonna get on the bus. But, and that's, I said, that's one of my sticking points. I think I mentioned that before. And it has to come to a meeting, and then it has to be tabled to make a big show of it, and then next week it'll get passed. And that's not the way the commissioners work. I think every day we get somebody coming in here and presenting stuff to us, and then it comes to the meeting and it's different. This is sort of different than what you told us 2 weeks ago.
Not at all.
Well,
The only
you might
difference is-
know a
The
lot.
only difference is we added Jim Thorpe to the route. It's option B instead of A. It was initially Nescone, Lansford, and Summit Hill. Because of the concern that the additional time and movement back and forth with Jim Thorpe. But as it being a host community and recognize there are unquestionably children who have historically used Mock Chunk Lake Park, to go ahead and choose option B instead of option A.
And I do, if you would come up with something reasonable, it
Well,
would be a different outcome.
I would add, safety is the number one concern, and
Yeah.
we did adjust the age limit based on our conversations last week. If there are additional safety policies that we'd like to enact, we absolutely can.
And then, like I said, all the schools, and I don't know if everyone does, but I thought they all have IDs. I mean, that might be a great idea to do that. If you have your kid, you sign him up that he wants to go and they get an ID. If that's something that gotta come out of our fund, if they don't, if it's low income, I'd be more than welcome to pay for a $2 ID for a kid that we know that they're of age versus not. If we have 100 kids and it costs us $200-300 to do that, that I would be open to. Yeah. All right,
Mr. Runner, can I ask you a question?
yes.
I want to ask you, how safe do you feel about our children getting on the school buses? And maybe today, you're going to say they're going to get off at their grandmother's house, they're going to get off at their father's house, or if their father's separate, they're going to get off at their mother's house. How safe, how much safer?
Well, I think when they're on the
How
school bus, I thought that they,
How can you even not support this issue?
but
this
when
issue-
they're on a school bus,
Because
usually they
maybe
report.
you should be more concerned about our school children riding on the buses every day. And they never know. The bus driver has no idea if they say, I'm getting off at my grandmother's house today, or I'm getting off at my father's house today.
do.
And,
You know,
and they
just-
might do that, but that's another thing that's up to the responsibility of the school. If there's a bus stop that's supposed to be, that's on the route, they should notify the bus company. And actually, the parents should tell them, okay, I'm getting off at this location. They shouldn't be just, if they have 10 kids getting off, they're supposed to track that, I thought.
Well,
I
I
mean,
know
I
for a
mean-
fact, not only in Jim Thorpe, but in Lehigh and also, they have the same problem with kids getting off where they have no right to get off the bus.
And that's not a,
And-
that's
and-
not a
and
county
that's what
issue,
I'm
that's
saying.
a school
This
board
is just
issue.
for one day a week.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, gosh,
I mean-
rocky, gosh.
Edie, you're going to the wrong board about the school. Go to the school boards if you have an issue with that. This is the county, and I'm looking, like I said, these kids stop it and they might be getting off of the grandmother. This is a stop that they could get anywhere off. Anywhere.
Yeah.
They're not gonna stop them from getting off. And I said, then change it. Don't say bus trip to the park, to swing. And that's, I'm still gonna stick with that. And I said, that IP might be the thing to do. That might be good, like I said. It'd be nice if the parents went with them, but.
Let them be entitled to one free day.
Yeah.
Let them be entitled to one free day to Mock Chunk Lake.
Thank you, Edie. Rachel.